all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your beer.
Keep following the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Cars, clothes, girls, and games. Through the years, a lot of things change. We shared a love like a melody. My sweetest moments are when you're here with me. Yeah.
I like that harmony coming in. Feels a little bit like Jodeci, the way it comes together. I guess maybe commissioned, because we all know that's where they took their inspiration from. Shout out to that, Andy. Okay, getting the vibe, reminding us why we really love Tyrese. You know, we want to see you win, Ty, and do nice things. Well, we heard the conversation with Gia and Envy. We heard what they had to say. Eric and I were just having a conversation. Oh, by the way, you're in hour 3 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, the after hours joint where we get a little looser in theory. I don't know. I just like saying it because it's late. And it sounds like something that you should do, right? Because it's late. Loosen up. Relax.
Right.
We get into things on a little deeper level, one layer deeper, I like to say. So Tyrese, of course, responded to this. And here's my thing. Did you have to, Ty? You've said quite a bit. You said a lot in your Breakfast Club interview. Then you had the interview after the Breakfast Club interview where you quantified what happened in the Breakfast Club interview and expressed yourself some more. What more is there really to say? You know, it's like each time he adds onto it, it's like, you know, he loses a fan because he's over talking and people don't want to hear all that. So we're going to get into what Ty had to say. I don't know why I keep calling him Ty tonight.
I've lost a little sleep since I've been home about a man accusing me of disrespecting his wife, as he said. Charlemagne in the background said, "What did he say?" I was wondering too. What did I say? So, of course, you know, the beautiful thing about the iMessage, the iCloud, it gives you an opportunity to recall text messages, and I don't see nothing in the text messages directly into Envy or directly into his wife where I disrespected him or her.
But Tyrese, what does that mean? You might not think saying, well, if you were with me or a man like me is disrespectful, but Envy might, right? And I feel like, you know, Tyrese definitely gives I'll take your girl vibes.
Yeah,
he definitely seems like he is that type of friend to try and little homie you know? I want it. I got it. I see it. I want it. At any rate, so what are your thoughts on that follow-up? To me, that just shows the need for more attention because you didn't say what you did say in the text. You did the same thing Envy did. Well, I looked and I didn't see anything. Well, what he said was inappropriate. And again, I get why we don't want to delve too much into specifics, right? And we do know that when the public gets involved in discourse, then, you know, Urban Spinster, I believe it was a text because Tyrese said he looked back and his text changed to see what he might have said that was inappropriate. I think it was a mixture of both. Sometimes some stuff said on a call, some things in text. Because what I thought was interesting, Gia said that Tyrese laid forth some expectations that he had for her within their friendship.
That's right. Yeah.
And that is so interesting to me because those situations, in my opinion, generally only happen with male and female friends that are kind of thinking about or toying. Are we compatible? We don't really want to talk about are we compatible, but I'll throw out some things that I like. Let's see if you comply, and it just kind of evolves into such. So I feel like, he might have been trying to backdoor DJ Envy and get at his wife, and she was vulnerable at the time because he had been cheating with Erica Mena. So I don't think she is as innocent as she is making. I'm not saying she did anything, but I do think that she let a little bit hang in the air because it felt good. It felt good for her ego.
There we go. Exactly. Perfectly said. I feel like there was energetically, Tyrese knows energetically he came at Gia the wrong way. Gia knows that energetically she entertained some of his energy the wrong way. That's really what it is. Whether we get the actual verbal text proof or not, because of course Tyrese is going to pick and choose which text he wants to, expose publicly, and
And same with Gia. She's probably that conversation might have been a little questionable, but this one over here,
Yeah, and also, if it really was, boundaries being pushed, like he really went across the line, why did this last this long? You know what I mean? Why did it really continue that long? So, I get it. DJ Envy and Gia were in a really vulnerable place, a shaky place. And so things were coming at them, and maybe she liked the attention.
I mean, because sometimes, there are a lot of people, you see conversations happen all the time, like, what is flirting? What is considered in, one person's relationship? There was a reality show that was on a few months ago. It was, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it. It took place in the Hamptons, though, and
like the Black Hamptons.
Yeah, so it was not the Black Hamptons. That's a BET Plus show. Shout out to them though, Carl Weber. Not dissing, just saying that's not what I was talking about. This was a reality show based on a group of friends that went and vacationed at where's the beach? There's the Hampton. The beach. Martha's Vineyard. There was a movie named after this with Lorenz Tate and Jada Pinkett.
Traditional black beach.
Inkwell, the Inkwell, in Martha's Vineyard. Okay, so they were in that area, and anyway, long story short, they, were talking about their connections, their ties, and things of that nature. And one of the cast members, they were newlyweds. Her husband didn't want her going out with one of her good friends from in the past because he felt like she was wild and she would allow men to buy them drinks. And so there was a lot of conversation like that. One person might not think that's a boundary crossing. It's no big deal. Buying a drink, light conversation doesn't mean giving a phone number and going out on a date. Other people feel like that's opening the door up to, thank you, Urban Spinsters, Martha's Vineyard Summer House. That is exactly what it was. I interviewed some of the cast about that. But there were all of these things about, for example, as I said, that, hi, April Farrington, how are you doing? There was questions about one cast member, right? I told you about the setup with he and his wife and the friendships, but there was another guy who kept his whole relationship undercover, didn't mention that he had a girlfriend, was flirting with one of the other girls. And so do you think that single and married friends can still keep their friendship patterns in the same way?
The only way that can successfully happen, the only way single and married friends can, come together and do the same things together is if they have the same principles, if they have the same belief system as far as.
Well, what about if, like, let's say we have the same principles when we're hanging out, but I alter my principles when I'm with my man because he doesn't like it and we're trying to make it happy. Does that count? Because I feel like that's what happens with a lot of people. Like, yeah, I know he really wouldn't like it. I like him, but I like this too. So we're just going to see what happens.
That means if that's the case, then you and your man, you the couple, you guys have to have an agreement with each other at that point of what works for you.
But see, I think that's one thing I always say. I think that a relationship, a marriage is between two people, and that I know that there are rules, but I think that oftentimes, especially now, we let tradition and someone else's idea of what is going to be best for you and your relationship color how you move. And therefore, you're setting up expectations of someone that you don't even know if you really want from yourself, let alone from this individual based off of societal standards.
True, but do you believe that we should at least set some parameters?
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, I think, but what I'm saying is whatever those parameters are, if you and your person are cool with it and you can handle it, then I think that it is okay to move through.
Yes.
Who am I to say, hey, your man doesn't let you go out? That's crazy, girl. He's controlling. He doesn't love you. I may think that, but that's not my place necessarily, because if you are happy and your relationship functions as such, if you are happy, because that's the key thing. People will say they're happy and not be. But if you are legitimately happy in whatever, whether that is restrictions or however you flow and move, then it doesn't matter if it doesn't look like to someone else.
True. Yeah, I mean, you never know what one partner, like if the husband or the wife may want certain things from the husband and vice versa, and they may be okay with compromising that for one another. But we on the outside can't impose our beliefs or our desires for what we want their relationship to look like so they can do what we want them to do. I get that. So each couple is different.
When we come forward, we'll have more with Eric Ashton Spooner. We'll talk about Okoye Lee Simmons, that is Kimora Lee and Russell Simmons' daughter. She was in a recent Vogue article talking about how being called the ugly sister and so much more impacted her when she was younger, and how it has turned it around for her in her future. She just graduated from Harvard. Not a lot of people can say that. She also talked about her estranged relationship with her father. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like watering your lawn during the hottest time of the day and leaky faucets. They're tunes from another time, because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast, too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So we're going to get into a little Okoye Lee Simmons. She discussed in a recent interview her looks and how she grew into them and how her parents' fame impacted her self-view and image. So she shared that a lot of time her older sister Ming was the one that was considered the pretty one, you know, that the beauty standards for her, looking at her mother and her sister, were extremely high, and that the level of scrutiny that was placed on her as a child, she said that there are only a few Black women in high-profile families that had to experience that kind of, you know, examination. She said naturally their cousins, Angela and Vanessa Simmons, and Beyonce and Jay-Z's oldest child, Blue Ivy. She says, at the time, I was reading a lot of crazy stuff. She said people would say things like, poor her, she got her dad's genes. There were literally articles like, celebrity kids gone wrong. And I was like, I'm 11. To this day, she said she remains perplexed by any observations of a supposed glow up. She says she merely went through the natural hormonal transformation that goes with adolescence. She adds, most people don't have the public's opinions when they're in high school, she says. That level of surveillance is a parasocial dynamic. She said, if I said someone was talking about you or 2,000 people, how would you not check? Anyone would want to know. So do you think that in this era where we are now, we are, to a degree, our own worst enemies when it comes to social media? Because, I mean, she said it, you know, she could have bypassed it. None of those people mattered, but she was curious, as we all would be. You know, how do you turn it off? How do you keep that self-esteem intact?
I think we are definitely in a dangerous place in humanity when it comes down to social media, because people are no longer connecting to people at the heart and soul level. They're going after what the perception or the surface look is on social media, which is really sad, actually, because majority of people that post on social media are only posting the highlights, the good times, the great moments, the fun times, but they're not, posting their process, their climb.
Well, okay, so what about this? Because I do think that people post their process and their climb sometimes, but sometimes it's faux. Mm-hmm. You know, it is, yo, I'm grinding. I'm out here hitting these streets. Yo, listen, I'm putting in the work, people. I'm making it out here. I'm blazing the path for Black women, and you have to follow me. You know, meantime, I'm on the couch or what have you. I think that we get a lot of that because the blueprint has been laid. I remember back in the day, this is going to sound a little shallow. This is a random story, but I used to be like, little me being like, why can't that girl dress? There's so many videos. They can copy the look or whatever, right? But now everybody is copying and pasting, and there's no originality. Nobody has their own look, their vibe, really. Yeah. So when you see that on social media, and sometimes it's very apparent, even if they're doing a good job, you're like, this is fake. It's put together. How do you discern what is authentic and organic from what is, hey, this is the blueprint. This is how I look sincere. This is how I look authentic. This is how I look aligned, because we have a blueprint. Every day you can scroll social media and see any number of accounts, not just from a technical standpoint, this is what you do to build your following, but, you know, I'll sleep when I'm dead, you know, grind 26/8, whatever, you know, those type of things. And you see people, you know, living the dream. So how do you determine what's an authentic positioning from someone?
Honestly, it has to be on a personal level. When you can stand and say, I'm an individual, it's about individuality, because social media either forces you to become what you see or stand in the truth of who you are. You know, I mean, you're going to do one or the other. And if you don't have a strong foundation in yourself and a strong discovery and knowledge of self, you're going to lean more towards what the masses are doing on social media, and kind of lose yourself in a sense. Yeah.
Do you think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you think that there is an age where this phases out? Because one thing, I see a lot of conversation on social media about, for example, Gen X, right? Which is largely considered the forgotten generation. People talk about millennials, people talk about boomers, they forget about Gen X. But I have seen some conversation that said a lot of people feel Gen X suffer from Peter Pan syndrome. They don't want to grow up or things of that nature. So they act out in different ways, or, you know, things that a 40-year-old in 2023 is much different, in my opinion, than a 40-year-old from 1988 right now.
Definitely.
Different interests, different conversation, you know, not everyone, but I think that we find there is more whimsy. I don't know if that's
more options, more opportunity to stay young. I mean, who went to the dermatologist in 1988 every week to get Botox and, you know, all of these things, cosmetic, like Ariana Grande is talking about, she's leaving it. She's not even 30 years old. You know what I mean? So today we have so many options and so many things we can put our hands on to change ourselves and alter ourselves. And society accepts that today.
But I mean, but don't you think for everyone, like, who wants to get old? Not like that. Of course, everyone wants to get old because the alternative is death. But who wants to feel cast aside or that you are past your prime? And we did so much of that in past generations. You know, as a woman, if you weren't married by a certain point, you were considered, you know, damaged goods, no hope for the future, right? As a man, if you stay single too long and your focus is on this, then it's like, well, what's he doing? You know? So I just wonder from that perspective.
I think the individual is empowered today more than ever. We have options.
Really?
We have education. We have choices.
But do we take advantage of that? Because you see people every day that we have so much information at our fingertips, but for example, how many people don't understand the basic 3 branches of government, right?
Majority
supposed to learn it in school, right? It's readily available online. We've gone through all of these situations with our government and voting and all of these different things. And realistically, if you ask a random person on the street, the average one may not be able to explain it to you.
That's true. Yeah.
So do you think that with this more options, we've dumbed down, or is there anything wrong with, maybe it was wrong before, we were forced to be older because that's the only choice that we had and act in that way?
Yeah. We have more choices. I think we have a lot more people that are lazier in today's society, because in our
like
parents'
Kim
generation,
said, the problem with everybody nowadays is that they don't want to work. Get your bleep up and go to work. Shout out to Kim K.
Yeah, but I mean, what Kim K said was, she said it in a, you know, she didn't say it nicely, but it was true. I mean, think about it.
I wasn't mad at what she, and I know a lot of people took issue of it because they feel that she is a Nepo baby. But, you know, I think it's such an interesting conversation. And I know, especially when you were talking about the Black community or just in general, a community that is economically disadvantaged, the assumption is well, your parents had money, so what do you have to worry about? You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that is not necessarily fair, and it's not true.
Right.
Of course, there are people that are put in, but some people still have to put in work, and things aren't just handed to them.
That's right.
But it's not acceptable to say that.
Yeah. I mean, she obviously, her parents do have money. She's a billionaire now?
In theory, or at least she owns a billionaire company, part owner.
Yeah. So her making that statement about get up and go to work, it was detached from the normal society, the masses, because they do have to work to survive, versus her situation where she's a billionaire. So the worlds are completely different.
But does it mean that she didn't work because...
Sure. But you're right. On the other hand, however, sometimes when you grow up in a privileged household, you may even have more expectations and more pressure put on you than a normal person. So, she did work, and she's a privileged person. I just think that it was...
Timing,
it was disconnected from the average working American.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this story kind of relates back to DJ Envy, kind of not, but low key. Erica Mena, who is the woman that he was having that 10-year affair with, she is currently on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. And there was a situation that occurred where she called a Jamaican black cast member a blue monkey. She had blue hair at the time. And she has since come out and apologized and said that she regrets it and that she is embarrassed and so forth. So what I want to know from you is, do apologies even matter anymore? Because one, we know if you just say sorry, even if you don't mean it, it's just to get along, right?
Mm-hmm,
to do it, to get in the thing. But then there are some people that may actually feel remorse. But does an apology even matter? Because sometimes I think, you think about your parents as a kid. Say sorry to the other kid. What is it really helping? I don't know. So what are your opinions on apologies?
Apologies matter, on the surface, but at the heart, at the core, they don't matter, I don't think, in this situation. Because
change behavior is the best apology.
Exactly. If it's not followed up by a change of behavior and an acknowledgement of ignorance or, where it really came from. For example, for me, I grew up in the Deep South. I'm the darkest child of all of my siblings. All of my siblings are like Meghan Markle's color. Okay. I'm the dark child.
So you took a lot.
So I've been through this throughout my whole life. I've been through this. The colorism in the African-American community is really real. And so for a dark-skinned child to grow up in that type of environment, and you feel rejected and neglected and ostracized, it's traumatic, and then you feel like, well, maybe I'm adopted, or maybe why am I different? And you go through all these things in your mentality and your development that is just heartbreaking. So sorry is not necessarily enough if you don't course correct and change your ways.
When we come forward, we'll have more with our guest, Eric Ashton Spooner. We will also continue with more trending topics and headlines. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
Every time I look at you, your smile lets me know you feel me too. Anything you wanna be, I can deal with because you're right here next to me, yeah.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is backing an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. He made the announcement citing dealings the Biden family made with foreign companies and governments. The president and his son Hunter Biden have denied any wrongdoing so far, and there's been no evidence the president was involved in his son's business dealings. Governor Kathy Hochul says lawmakers are entertaining every option when it comes to solving New York's asylum seeker crisis. The governor is working on language that would grant migrants work authorization at the state level. And an advisory panel says a decongestant found in popular over-the-counter cold medicines doesn't work. The panel unanimously came to an agreement on the ineffectiveness of phenylephrine. The decongestant is found in common medicines like Sudafed PE. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Prime members save more at your Amazon Fresh store. As a Prime member, you'll save 10% on hundreds of items in store, from organic produce to pantry staples to handcrafted pizza. Head to Amazon.com/fresh locations and find a store near you.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. 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 Follow the leader.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried New Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid. And we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose America.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, wanna know what it's like. Baby, show me what it's like. I don't really got no tights. I just wanna f all night. Yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Baby, I need to know. I just been fantasizing, and we got a lot of time. Baby, come throw the pipe. Gotta know what it's like. Yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Baby, I need to know.
You are in the final stretch of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Andy, I got a question for you. I got a Doja question for you. So I really like Doja. I can be honest and admit that I discovered Doja when she had that troll track, I'm a cow. Yep. Moo. I'm a Taurus, so I related, you know. I embraced it. Do you think, like, I think she's trolling with her new, you know, demon song title, all of the thing, but it's not a look for me. Like, I don't want that imagery in my reality because I have nightmares and stuff. So, like, I don't play around with it. But do you think, but I think she's really creative and I like her approach to performing. What are your thoughts on, I'm sidestepping and going out someplace random, but I want to know, what are your thoughts on Doja's new music?
I haven't heard any of her new music.
You haven't? You haven't seen any of, I mean, she performed 3 songs on the VMAs tonight, but you were here with me, so
exactly.
we didn't see that. But I'm just saying, you haven't heard, like, she has one track called Demons. I can't remember what the other 2 are. Nope.
I haven't heard of that at all.
What's your thought about her overall?
I think she's cool. I think she's dope. I think she's unique. I found out about her when she dropped No Police. I don't know if y'all familiar with that record. So this is kind of like before she even kind of blew up or whatnot. I think she's dope. There's a lot of songs that she has that's nice.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm curious. I really like her. I'm just curious to see where she goes. And she's in an interesting position that I don't, you know, and this seems to be her socially. We were talking about this earlier, that never really see her around the rappers. It's not really her crew. You know, she was showing feet on whatever the thing was. That's her business. But I am curious to see positioning and how she rolls out, because she's not technically an urban artist, even though she does have some R&B music. This new album is more hip-hop influenced, but she's a pop artist, but she doesn't seem to like pop, but she doesn't seem to be ensconced in hip-hop.
That's crazy.
So I think that she's an interesting, you know, dichotomy.
That's crazy because I view her as urban.
Do you really?
Off the rip. I think she branched out into pop music.
I think that she backed into urban music. That's my feeling. I feel like
she was marketed to pop.
I feel like not only was she marketed to pop, I feel like a little more of her preference was probably, there was urban influence, urban things, because, you know, hip hop is pop music at this point. It's the number one music genre in the world, no matter if it's going through changes or, you know, not hitting number ones or whatever. It obviously influenced lots of things. Like, I think what's like those groups, Blackpink and those K-pop groups that are obviously influenced by we don't have boy bands in R&B. We have groups.
Yeah.
I hate when they call New Edition a boy band because they're not. But that's neither here nor there. Let me get to a couple of these comments in the chat. Prester John says, you don't make $1 billion from physical exertion and hard work. $1 billion is made from siphoning wealth from others. I believe that has something to do with the topic we were talking about, but I don't remember exactly in what aspect. But
Kim Kardashian.
Kim K?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I feel you on that. Well, I understand, and I very much do understand your point, because in order to be a billionaire, there are no billionaires that have not probably in some form or fashion, whether they purposely did or not, taken advantage of someone.
Yeah.
I mean, because building wealth is corrupt waters.
Yeah, you make millions of dollars and you pay your workforce pennies. That's how you make the money.
I mean, listen. Terry says, Eric, are you a psychologist? You seem like you know a lot about mental health and relationships.
I'm actually a mental health proprietor, so I actually own the agency that employs the psychologists and the counselors. So, but no, I've been a mentor and a counselor, a coach for several years.
So look at that. I just learned a new thing. I didn't know that there was someone that was over this. Like, listen, administratively, I guess you make sure it happens, right? You put it out there.
Yes.
So April Farmington says, I can relate to him being you, Eric. I was bullied all my life because of my skin's color, because I'm brown skinned, and dark skinned people used to call me ugly when I was younger. I think kids are cruel. People are always like, kids are really honest, but they are also really cruel. And they just say what they think, and they don't think about the repercussions of it. I mean, we teach them to, but, it's such an interesting thing, because I remember a conversation I had when I was younger with, like, a classmate. They were very smart. We were pretty young at the time, and they were talking to their mom, and their mom was telling them something about, like, being polite to, like, an adult. They didn't like, adult friend. And the kid's position was, but you said don't lie. And I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
And, that's something you think about. We talk about, teaching kids not to lie and things like that. But we very much teach them to lie with niceties and to save people's feelings. And, it's an interesting sort of balance with that, because you are teaching them to be deceitful.
Yeah, especially, once they get older and that innocence is gone, it's a whole nother world of darkness that comes in.
Listen, well, let's step into the light. You have a new project coming up next month.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
So I'm excited to talk about, I have a project called You Matter. And so You Matter is myself introducing a private, exclusive community targeted to men. Ages 18 and older. And this is going to be a private, exclusive community where men can actually have their own content, their own forums, a place of transparency, vulnerability, a real place for where men can actually have their own place of transparency, vulnerability, content. I'll be doing interviews with different people, peers, actors, artists, leaders, community leaders. We'll be interacting on there, talking, and just really connecting in a deeper way that's exclusive. It's a safe place for men, just for us.
I was going to ask you, it's just for men, so women can't go and join to try and gain a man's perspective.
A woman can join if it's, we can't control who joins in that way, but this is targeted for men.
But isn't that not harmful, but isn't that defeating the purpose? Like, if a woman joins, because is a man going to want to be vulnerable or express these things that you talk about with the enemy in the midst? She's not the enemy. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point is that if she joins for her significant other, for her man or for her cousin, brother. If she's doing that for them, she can do that for them.
Maybe she's doing it to get insight, to kind of get behind the wall.
Yeah, and that's possible. That's fine. That's perfectly fine because there's going to be content there that women may want to learn from. That's things that I would not put on social media or I wouldn't put on YouTube. These are exclusive things that we need to actually delve out and talk about. And so this is going to be a private exclusive community for men. It's a men's corner called You Matter, and I'm going to launch it for October for next month.
When we come forward, we will get more information from Eric Ashton Spooner on You Matter, which is launching next month, just for you men. Just kidding. You guys need a safe space, too. And, of course, we will be getting down to the last couple of bits of the show. We'll talk about what you can expect in tomorrow's show and a little bit more with Eric, because we've had a great conversation tonight. All of that and more, you are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Dominique DePrima. We can all fall into the trap of mindlessly spending sometimes. I know I do it. But one tip for staying on track is when you have an impromptu purchase that comes up, try making a habit of taking a quick look at your bank account balance before you buy it. It's not just about seeing how much you have in your checking account. Just looking at your account might put the urge to make that impulse purchase into perspective and help you make better choices that'll benefit you for the long term. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Is your eyesight changing?
I can't read this anymore.
Don't lose hope. People just like you are working every day using Braille, screen magnification, speech technology, and other tools and blindness skills. Your eyesight may have changed, but your goals, they don't have to. We can help. Visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are talking with Eric Ashton Spooner, who was detailing his platform for men where they can connect and be vulnerable, share, have conversation. He will facilitate a lot of those conversations on this platform. So first, tell us your social media and where we can go to get more information about that, get more info on you, check out your other podcasts, all of those good things.
Yes, so definitely go to Instagram and follow me at Eric Ashton Spooner. That's ERICASHTON Spooner. Follow me there. I'll post the links for the platform when it goes live so people can start to sign up and register. But this is a new platform. It's You Matter. It's a big, undertaking to launch. But I want men of all races, all backgrounds to start engaging. I'm going to facilitate a lot of interviews, and I'm not going to put these on the podcast platform. This is specifically for this. Yes.
Do you think that men of other races overall relate differently? Or do you think that...
I can answer that emphatically because me personally, I have my white friends, I have my Latin friends, I have my black friends, I have friends of all different cultures, and I've attempted to engage them on subjects like what we're talking about. It's, mental health, all these things that affect us. And the temperature, the atmosphere, the response is so, for example, with my black and brown brothers, for example, they latch on to me a lot quicker. Because our issues are so in the forefront every day of our lives. There's so much trauma we have to get out and talk about, and we've never had a forum to talk about it. But when I'm around a lot of my white brothers, they know it's true, but it's a lot more hush and a lot more censored and a lot more. It takes more to get it out of them. It's like almost like, do we really deal with that? Does this really affect us? It's there's a more, and I don't want to use this word pride, but sometimes I've had to deal with more pride with my white brothers because
really
to get the vulnerability out. Yes,
that is surprising to me. I would assume that, and shout out to Prester John in the chat. He says all the best with the group, Eric. Real talk. So he's
thank you. I appreciate
feeling
that.
what you're putting out there. I would think that white men would have a little more freedom to express themselves in different ways than what you typically think about with black or Latino men, for example.
Yes, I agree. So I understand the mindset of what you're saying. Most of the time, our white brothers and sisters are more apt to talk than the black and brown brothers and sisters. I agree with that. However, when it comes down to what subject we're talking about,
okay.
Think about it. If we're talking politics or we're talking money, we're talking, relationships, they'll talk. But sometimes when we're talking the vulnerability of manhood,
I think they express it differently. And I think sometimes, and I say this as someone who, has grown up around different groups and spent different time. I think that their vulnerabilities and the conversation and the way that they express themselves can be very different from us at times. And so I think that maybe when they are being more vulnerable, or even us, like you think about like rappers that talk about, being drunk all the time. And I don't know if I'm like, that's a form of depression. It could just be music, but it is a form of, expressing your grief. So I'm going to take a slight left here, but I think you'll follow me. So I always say one of the reasons why when the Kardashians were still in their black men era, clearly we're past that. We are, into others right now, which is fine. You can do what you want. I think that one of the things that attracted a lot of the black men to them that they dealt with was that these men didn't have a mother figure in their life. If you look at a lot of them, they were from broken homes or where they had lost their mother. You think about Lamar Odom. You think about Kanye West. You think about someone like Reggie Bush, who didn't work out with Kim, who had a strong maternal figure. And so I bring that up, and I say that because I think that their family unit as a whole is what also drew a lot of these people in. Like, of course, they probably like the women or whatever, but I think the way that the family presented, even being a fragmented family, because there was a lot of divorce, but the way that they present the idea of family is presented differently. And I think that it is welcoming in some ways to these men. So I say that to say that is why I feel like in general, just that white men, maybe not. I mean, we all have our challenges in different ways, but I feel like just because the conversations that they have, the things that they are allowed to express allows them to be a little more open and vulnerable than some of our men, I feel like.
I completely agree. Yes, a lot of my white brothers, and we're speaking in generalities.
Exactly,
there's
exactly. Not
exceptions to all of
specific,
this.
of course. Yes.
Yeah, not all black, not all brown, not all white
Absolutely
handle
not.
these things the same way. So I want to make that clear. But just in my personal experience, because I have so many white friends, when I came to them with these type of subjects, it was a lot more censorship and I had to pull it out of them.
Coded language. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was maybe because the leader was the black guy bringing it to them. And, there was different, that's a different angle maybe for some of them. And I go deep. I go very deep. But my black and brown brothers, I never have an issue. It's more like, wow, like he really sees us. Man, it attaches because they've been waiting for it for so long.
Okay. I see that.
So I think the approach to it and how men communicate can be different based on race sometimes. But in general, what I'm dealing with is a universal issue that men and vulnerability is something that hasn't been spoken of publicly in a public forum for a long time. I can't recall when it has been accepted in the public forum.
I'll tell you when it's accepted. When it deals with death and the death of one of your friends or maybe a child. I saw a clip today from a podcast called The Pivot, which is an athlete sports podcast. And there's a podcaster on there, Wallow. He has a podcast called $1 Million Worth of Game. And his Gilly. Okay, it was Gilly, not Wallow. Okay, my bad. I'm mixing it up. It was Gilly. His son was murdered not too long ago, and he talked about the grief and the process and about his friend Freeway, who was part of the Rock, standing up for him and washing his son's body while it was cold. And just, it was a very raw moment, something that, this is a street dude, something that you wouldn't expect to hear from someone like that and express those emotions in that manner. And it was really eye-opening. My heart broke for him in that instance. But I think that those are the instances where you see black men can articulate their grief and their pain. But a lot of times it has to do with a friend.
Yeah, and which is sad because our only form of accepted vulnerability is through disaster.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
Well, I want to thank you, Eric, for joining me. It is always a pleasure. You have to come back in October when the platform is ready to launch.
Yes.
One more time, tell everyone where they can find you so they can tap in with you.
Follow me on Instagram at Eric, that's ERIC Ashton, ASHTON, Spooner, SPOONER, Eric Ashton Spooner on Instagram. And I'll have more information about You Matter and other projects coming very soon.
And we love to hear it. Shout out to Prester John, April Farrington, and everyone else that was in the YouTube chat. Thank you for rocking with us. Tomorrow night is Wednesday, so you know what that means. We have our Keep It Real friend, Trent the Artist, coming in. Of course, we have our Tubi movie reviews and all the trending topics and headlines. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe. When we come forward, you will hear the very best of KBLA. I'm Jill Munroe. You have an amazing night.